That was your fan.
But she's good.
Liberty County School Board Workshop, Tuesday, May the 3rd, 2022, come to order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, a couple things we're going to discuss in the workshop. Let me start by talking about the school that, Mr. Turner, we good with sharing that today, just an update, just on the school? So, did everybody get the latest parent square sent out? If y'all had a chance to review that? Okay, and I also sent an email form too. So this morning, Tuesday mornings, I usually go to Hosford School. Went to Hosford this morning, just making sure testing, because we started testing today, or the next round of testing. And got here, was gonna try to catch Gerald. Gerald was up here, hit his fingerprint. So Renee said, well, he just missed me. He going to high school, come on in. And so get to the high school, and that wasn't there long. I was meeting one of the coaches there, and still didn't get to see him today. But got the call right at 10 o'clock that there was a fire down there. Tyler Sampson went down there about 9 o'clock, helping out with a gate issue or a key or something. And while he's literally at the pre-K, that's where he's at. I believe the products of the good Lord put him there. I believe that was no accident. So he's there, and he starts just seeing a little bit of smoke. So the fire had, you don't know how much was going on, but the building was locked. There was nobody in there. It was the admin building for pre-K. So you got the 2 classrooms, and then they're perpendicular to the admin building. So it's the far south building. It's locked. Chesney's in Hosford at pre-K, and Tanis has been covering a class. He realizes he starts to see smoke and tries to get in the door. It's locked, and so he's beating on the door, and realizes it's secure, you know. But it's already getting after it. So he went over to pre-K. Y'all need to get the kids out. They got them out really quickly. We do fire drills once a month. They did exactly what they were trained to do. Staff, nobody got upset, nobody got, and so they went out the north side of those pre-K buildings. So, one class on the south side can go out the north side, so they went out the north side. A lot of black smoke. It's a total wood building. I believe Coach Red, but I think Mike and some of them mates built them back in the early 90s. All wood paneling on the inside. There's no
Same time the one at Hosford was built, because that's my first class.
Was it really? Wow. So anyway, everybody's out, and so fire department was there within 15 minutes or less, probably less than that. They were all on scene when I got there at 10 o'clock. So they worked on it, got it really contained. Kids were out, out and away, and really no danger to those 2 pre-K buildings. And then the south wind began to blow. And let me tell you something, it's like you flipped the light switch. So all of a sudden it started rolling towards that breezeway, that you walk under, that porch. And they regrouped the fire truck hoses, and they were able to wet that down and stop it. So it's not called the state fire marshal anymore. Let me move back up. So the buildings, the air would suck in some of that smoke. The smoke was all over campus. I don't know if any of y'all went down there, but there was smoke everywhere. It got hot. So now you got smoke, and the smoke smell in the buildings, and it became an issue. We were testing. Some classes were about 3 minutes away from the end of testing. We've called DOE. I think they're gonna let us finish it, but they could invalidate the test, but I don't think they're gonna do that. Jeff's got a good working relationship. We'd have Jeff here to talk and have some of those conversations. So they were gonna be fine on testing. We can pick up Thursday. So State Fire Marshal come out there. It's called the Bureau of Fire and Explosives now. It's got this small name. They come out. They feel sort of confident that it was in the laundry room on the left, and it was an electrical, they think, of the issue. Just said we see this stuff all the time in these old buildings, and they can't say conclusively that they, their early projections. So they come up here, pull video. They have video cameras. That gives you a little indication too, where you start seeing smoke, fire, all that kind of stuff. We sent kids home just out of abundance of caution. You know, we have kids that have asthma and all that kind of stuff. It's just better to send them home, you know. We tried our best to, as soon as I'm calling Renee, letting board members know this, and I hope, and I know that she got up with y'all. Jesse started sending out parent square. I started putting stuff on Facebook, so we were communicating that way. We wanted to play offense and get those messages out before narratives on social media come out, you know, y'all know how that goes. Hey, Kip.
How you doing?
And anyway, we got a lot of that out. So then the fire marshal got there, we discussed that. He come up here, full video, and then we met at 3 o'clock today with our leadership, Rob and Jesse. So we just decided, well, let me back up. The AC came, I called Mickey Hudson, who's our insurance guy. He's been here all afternoon with us, all morning, all day. And so the building is insured for $84,000. And it covers about 14,000 in content. So you're looking at about 100 grand there. You know, I didn't realize it was insured for so much off the top of my head. I figured it was probably 50, but it was 84. It's a total loss. They were able to get some ESC records, some IEP stuff that Chesney had. And Chesney knew the fire marshal guy, she knew him personally. And he just said, what else you need out of there? So he was very kind to go in there and get stuff. But they don't want anybody in there. And the issue now is if somebody gets in and gets hurt, then it becomes it's a liability now. So Ricky and Tyler, they'll get everything roped off and fenced off. The adjuster will be here tomorrow. We had a service company. Mickey was able to get a service company out here like Service Master Pro or whatever that does fire and water restoration when you have damages like that. And they came, they sent a guy out, and what they'll need to do is wipe. There's some smut stuff in that 200 building right there. 10 kindergarten, like 200 building. There's some smut in some areas that he had a little sponge thing, kind of find something. It's a little smoky. Rob said the 100 building's not hardly affected at all. 600 a little bit. And so what they're going to do tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow night, they'll come in and wipe everything down, clean everything, and then they'll what they call fogging the HVAC system. So go in there. So our plan as of right now is to have school on Thursday, but we need to be able to clean, and you know we don't want anything, you know, kid coming there to test and go, oh gosh, it smells like smoke. You know, we don't want anything to be a distraction of that. We finally had a year that's kind of COVID free, and we want a good accurate assessment of where the kids are. We don't want that to be a distraction to them. So that's the plan as of now, is to be back in school on Thursday. We'll know more about that this afternoon and this evening when they're going to come. I heard from Kyle Rogers with Culpeper. He said, look, if you need our assistance and helping with some of those companies, we got contacts too. So I've put him in touch with Mickey Hudson, and so I think we'll be all right. But it definitely a total loss. Everybody did what they're supposed to do. No other damage to any other buildings except that one, but it's gone. Any questions for that?
Now with the kids, what is the teachers off to?
We talked about that. We're going to go ahead and knock the teachers off too to get some cleaning done. Some of them have some health issues too.
Yeah.
It would be great to have them there. So here's another thing. I'm not putting those kids back in the portals. The pre-K kids, it's an honest question. If you don't know what caused that fire, what's to say it's not going to happen in the next quarter? So we're just going to pull them out. I'm not got 18 days of school left with them. So Rob said, I got plenty of room in Toller. We'll move them up there, and then we can decide what we want to do long term. But for the rest of the year, we're going to pull them out. So now their rooms are dirty. No fire damage, just smoke. You know, so they'll clean those probably the rest of the week. We're going to start. Rob's going to kind of go through some of that. We need some material out there. Obviously, some of the manipulatives and other things they use for learning, we really need that. So that's kind of the plan now. But I'm not comfortable leaving the portals, and that's where we're at.
So this is we're not going to do keyword portals for the
Rest of the year.
What about these?
Don't know yet. I'm not. I don't want to. I don't want to put them in there next year. So we got options. We got some room there. We got some room here. little more of a challenge up here because of food, but we feed the LLC kids here. I think Stacy takes the van and goes to his place, that's a little bit more, we got 30 kids, that's a little bit more of a challenge. But I'm not comfortable, I'm not comfortable with portables anymore.
That's the only portable we've got within the.
So if y'all remember back in the 90s, we're talking about, they were built in the early 90s. And so they used to be behind the old high school lunchroom.
Yeah.
Where Miss Ray Palmer had her, what was it called, home ec and stuff. They had, that was Bristol Middle School. Donnie Red was the principal, and we had grades 6, 7, and 8 out there. There were actually more of them, if y'all remember, when we were on the board, Donnie, did he buy them or we give them to him? I can't remember. Did he buy them? I think he bought them. But he's moved 2 or 3 of them down, it's 2, I think, down to the camp. So these are the ones, these are leftover ones from that. They look like good buildings, but they're all wood,
They probably, what's that,
30 plus.
32 years old. 32.
I think around 90, 91, so they're at least 30.
I know me and Roger built the
Y'all
first
did?
ones down.
Okay, well, I thought it was an inmate crew. I couldn't
It
remember.
was.
Okay, I couldn't remember if Mike was working or Roger or you or, okay, well,
I think Donnie and them got the one me and Roger built, so we good.
it was nice. It was the most solid.
It was most solid.
Yeah.
What kind of square footage is it?
Each classroom is about, shoot, I can't.
Whatever double wide is.
Yeah, it's about like a double wide. So you had classes on each side. So you had two of them and 4 classrooms. Square feet.
Like 33 by 60.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we got, and look, as a board, we got decisions to make. We got to figure out what's going to be, at Hofstra, they're in the old middle school wing, which was built years ago, maybe around 02. Not bad. But anyway, so we got some decision to make, but right now, the immediate thing is to get them out, obviously get them out. We are, to get them in the main building, so a little safer this time. Any other questions about that? If you get calls, please refer people to, and y'all know how Facebook, if you want, feel free to copy and share my post or whatever, you put it on your name, I don't care. Just try to get that word out. We got the Toller kids over, so that we did a pickup today with Toller kids, parents come and got them, ones that were left over, we bust them over here to the gymnasium, and we were able to feed everybody. I had people all over the county calling me, you didn't even help babysit. They were very nice, very cordial. A lot of churches called, so what do we need to do to help? And they were very kind, so everybody came up here. Oh yeah, the pig donated gobs of food, cold cuts.
Nice slice, roasted turkey.
Yeah, they were real blessing us today.
Yeah.
Everybody, the sheriff's office, Buddy and Dusty and all his crew, everybody it was, this is one of those things you hope never happens, but you train for it, and so it was a real blessing that everybody did what they were supposed to. Kids thought, oh, fire drill, that's what you want. Ricky does those fire drills once a month, and they did exactly what they're supposed to do. So.
At one prize, the troopers came through when her mom came together. Because
She
she
didn't
had
wanna
to leave.
She didn't want to leave.
She
Yeah,
did.
that's fine. So that's what happened today. Any questions for me that y'all have or about what happened? Very proud of our staff and everybody was just spot on, did what they were supposed to do. Just very blessed. Everybody got it.
The school-wide, county-wide, I was just having a leisurely drive down the road, here comes the law. They pulled in over there, I said, dang, what's going on? So I called Ron, what's going on? And he said a fire, but I thought he said a fight. I said a fight, who's hell fighting? No, a fire!
That's it. Well, Tyler Sansom was the hero today. He's the one that, was there, and again, I don't think nothing happened by accident. I believe the good Lord had it there at just the right time, and he was able to get to those buildings. So very, very happy. when y'all see Tyler, we'll let him know. I'll just writing about that and some of our communication, but, Kevin, your staff did phenomenal. I know you're proud, so.
Or been there, it could be.
Yep. Any other questions? If you have one, just, all right, we answer. Okay, so y'all ready to move to Cognitive? I told y'all we would be on that, I'll try not to be, but now Mandy's fixing to take over, so maybe So Cognitive accreditation, what is it? For y'all that have been on the board, with me in the past, the accreditation, what did it used to be called, Ms. Gay?
Advanced ed.
Advanced Ed. So we've got a banner around here, an Advanced Ed banner. Why do you need to be accredited? What's the significance of that? Well, accreditation, in a nutshell, to make it very simple, it's the credibility that we have for the education program we have. So they come in on that initial thing, which was what, 15 years ago? They come in and basically evaluate your program. Are you doing what you say? And the big thing to do is you say you're doing this, but are you doing it? And are you, and are you meeting those goals and expectations that you put for yourself, meeting minimums, are you doing all that kind of stuff? And so they came in, yes, you're doing that. So they give you that distinction. We got a banner in there and everything. But what it can do, and Gabe maybe can help me, but in certain competitive bids where you need to be the best one that's trying to apply for that, being accredited is it's a level or a distinction of credibility that you have in trying to pursue certain monies. But it's also it's a great thing to know that we've met some level of expertise. It's not that we're not flawed, not that we're not making that we don't have problems from now and then, but we have met some real levels of distinction in our educational program. It's an honor to have. So every school district in Florida is not accredited. It's a work product. It's a process that takes a lot of work. And so when we had it the first time, I mean, Gay had to entertain, how many was on the team? 5 folks, pick them up from the airport, wine them down, feed them, make sure they get in hotels. Guys go pick them up every morning from the hotel, bring them here, take them back. I mean, it's brutal days. None of that has to be done for this review because of COVID. We originally had, this is a review, okay? And so we were supposed to do it last year, right in the middle of COVID, we were able to push it to now. And it's just amazing how things have just kind of all gathered here at the same time. But they're going to ask a pile of questions of teachers, of administrators, finance people, every facet of the school system, parents. They're going to talk to students. They're going to talk to teachers, just everything. But what we want to just talk about tonight is what they're going to talk to you about. What kind of questions? I'm going to say right in front because Mandy has recently served on one of these cognitive teams. She was fortunate enough to be able to be on the team. So she just kind of happens to have some treat sheets for us tonight of some of the questions that you may be asked. And so at the end of the day, if you don't know something, it's better to say, I don't know, I can get back with you, than to say something that's wrong. It can be a little pressure. I mean, I remember when they talked to me a few years ago, and there was a couple things I just didn't know. They may ask you about FSBA training. They may say, Ms. Bailey, have you done any FSBA training? Now, that may not necessarily reflect on some of these, but that was one of the questions they asked me. And I said, yeah, I've done some of that. If you haven't, they may say, well, do you plan on doing some of that training? And good answers. Yeah, I plan on, I don't want you to lie. I'm just saying, if you don't know, well, I don't know. My work schedule doesn't allow me to be out of town for 2 or 3 days at a time. They're going to ask you about what being a school board member is and some of your contributions, some of your roles and responsibilities. Sometimes, so I sat in as a PAC board member. I'm a school board member for PAC. So I went through this cognitive review about 2 weeks ago, and they asked me a lot of questions that were quite administrative, things that John Sellover does. And I'd say, well, that's not applicable to the board of PAC. That's something Mr. Sellover will do. Oh, okay, all right. So if there's things that that I do, or Gay, or Mandy, or Laura, or Kevin, it's okay. So that's more of a district management responsibility. Sometimes they'll almost cross lines between management and boardsmanship. So I know that they did that with me a couple weeks ago.
And I think point there is if they're seeing, if you know.
They want to know if you know the difference.
What's your role?
Right.
What's my role?
They want to know if you know where your lane is.
They do, so staying lane.
Same, and so I don't think it's that they don't know, they're wondering, do you know? Do you know? So if, you know, if they ask you a question and Boo says, yeah, I go up there and I tell the superintendent who he needs to hire, and he's going, well, then they don't know. You know, you must not know the board superintendent relationship, those kind of things. So, anyway, I'm gonna let, so you got a couple documents, I'm gonna let them speak. And executive summary, which is kind of a fact and figure thing about the district, talks about some demographics on that. Mission and vision is sometimes a question they'll ask you, do you know the mission and vision? You're gonna do this for Zoom, and there is nothing to say you can't have cheat sheets in front of you. I did, when I did mine a couple weeks ago, and I had notes, just in case that they wanted to look at that. So these are some of the questions that came from the review that Mandy was on. And they may or may not ask you every question. They may ask you 2 or 3, or they may ask you, don't let, it all depends. You got different people doing those reviews. So the team she served with, it'll be a whole different team for that. So your team was very nice. Okay, all right. So
They may ask, if somebody doesn't know your mission or vision, say, where do they go to find it? It's on the website. They're gonna dig through our website and see what's there, so you have to really dig down and look through, not just that front page, but dig down into it and see what's on the different pages.
It's posted in Petty Springs, it's on all of our documents, student progression plan, code conduct, all, pretty much every plan we have, you'll find it there.
And these are just kind of really broad beginning questions, and you may say something, and then they'll pull that thread, like you, and run with it in different directions. So, the district got reviewed, it was kind of a mid-size, but they were growing, so one of their issues was growing pains. I mean, they'll come in and say, have you guys thought about how you're gonna address your need for more fifth grade classes? And you don't have to have, we're doing this right now. It can be, we know it's a problem and we're working on it, and that's kind of part of, you know, nobody's perfect, everything's working through. So, we kind of just started running through the questions and writing down some things that we thought would be helpful for y'all, and then if you want to tell us things, we'll add to it and print it for you. So the first one was, how are you all engaged in the school or the district's continuous improvement efforts? And what we came up with was
Review and approve school improvement plans. It's one thing that y'all do annually each year. Yeah, there may be other things that we're.
and we really didn't think about the financial side.
No, we didn't.
So I'll mention a couple on that, ways we work on school improvement. Number one, like I said, the school improvement plans. Y'all can look through those and go, I ain't good enough, I want it to be tough. I think you're too tough. That comes to the board. Board has to approve that. We submit that to you. Another way that we have continuous improvement efforts, and this will be, you don't have to say this every question. I, as a school board member, us as a board, we communicate with the superintendent a lot to let him know our wishes when we see things that need fixing, when we see things that need improvement, when we see concerns, that we have an open door policy with all the district. You can call Kevin at any time, you can call any of us up here. We have those relationships that help out with improvement. So you know, again, not all of that is necessarily in writing, but it is being communicated.
One thing with small districts that I'm teaching this is like, so if I don't have lights in my classroom, I might call James Flowers as a teacher, and then James Scoops call Kevin instead of me. Go do work with the seniors. You know, people just go. Next one, how do leaders involve stakeholders in decision making?
Hey, we said our DAC meetings, which are held quarterly. So we have parents, teachers, students, and principals and us administrators participate. So that's an open forum where we go over anything that's happening in schools. And anything that in plan we've got coming up or anything, we give them an opportunity, the community an opportunity to give us, feedback, what do you think about this? And then we do surveys, throughout the year. And then, we recently started the public comments, thing on the, for the curriculum, but it's for anything, so it's just an email where we'll change it, whatever seems to be, whatever's happening at the time. And then people can, hot topics, there you go. And so that's gonna be really beneficial, moving forward. We
We
said,
did get public comments on the curriculum for that email. We had a few people come out and look at it, but most of the stuff, they went through that parent square link and reviewed it and sent comments by email.
so, and we have two-way communication through our parents, we didn't put that on there. But I think that's a good one, so two-way communication, how that.
People can respond to Parent Square individually. So if the Parent Square I sent out today, they can actually, it's almost like an email, they can sit there and hit reply, type back, and it only goes to me.
But that's been, I can't remember who it was today, but several people that were out in the gym after, today's event, and said it's the best thing we've ever invested in. And I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, it's good, it's a great communication tool. We said open board meetings, workshops, and we keep the public involved, the Facebook and Zoom and various other ways.
So one thing you don't have to overthink, how do people come, if we see we need improvement, how do we do that? That's kind of, when you think of the word stakeholders, that's really everybody, kids, parents, community, community, all that. Well, we have open board meetings, we're doing them on Zoom or YouTube, so we open those doors of opportunity. You can say, look, I put my number on the Facebook page. If I've got issues, you can call me. People call me at home. My number's in the book, or I use Facebook to let them know what's going on. So, and y'all do that. I see y'all do that all the time.
And we put things that we knew about, but we know that there's things that y'all as a board member that we have, that we think your phones ringing off of it, and we said PTO, booster clubs, and the most recent thing we did was the CTE advisory board that we had, so that was, some communication with outside stakeholders and what we were doing.
This third one will probably be at the red they pull. Remember they say, how involved are you with the school? If you say, here to J Foster, and then they'll want background on that. They might ask other types of questions about it. But this one really will kind of be personally, how are you individually involved with schools?
You might say softball, coaching, help softball, football, or, the various things that all of y'all have done.
Your visits, you may say, I know some of y'all retired, you say on Fridays, I go visit schools. I go visit schools on Fridays.
So we're just capturing a few of these things,
Right.
but y'all add to it, personalize it, making sure you're on, but we're gonna give you this.
Oh, yeah. And then next one is what are the policies that are in place to monitor the school, the district's continuous improvement plan, both long and short term, and then your role in ensuring those policies are implemented. Kind of thought about Kevin stuff with the long range, and then. So I'm trying to if there's anything.
You have your school improvement plans. We've just created a strategic plan. And again, I promise you it won't look nothing quite like that, but we had to start somewhere. We'll be able to check boxes as some of those things happen, things that we need, things that we want to see happen. We can say, got that, did that, and then you add the next thing that needs going on there. We want to be able to measure that. So that's one of the ways you can do that, long-term, short-term. And obviously, the biggest way that y'all ensure these policies are implemented is passing on those policies to be done. So at any time, you can say, well, look, you put this school improvement plan here, but I went down and talked to the principal, and he don't even know what school improvement plan is. Well, we know that's not the truth. I'm just making that up as the case. So as you talk to the schools, as you talk to district administration, That's one way you kind of gauge, are we getting better, are we doing what we say we're gonna be doing? And then you have the right to, at the board meetings, to say, well, look, you said y'all were gonna do a 40% better job at doing whatever this was, but I went out and looked, it looks like it's about 20%. So, you know, do we need to, I know it's high, we need to readjust that. So that's where y'all have input in there.
Some of the things we could, in addition to that, we said board policies, now we didn't look them up, we started to, but we ran out of time. And we'll do, we will do a little more research on that and add to this. And the like town policy, if y'all pass it, and there's a process for them being, you know, review and all of that, and we'll try to put up, you know.
Will they ask?
No.
I don't think
No.
they will.
Are they gonna use, because this, I mean, this,
They're
that first
looking
part of
at
that
big
question,
They're
on
looking-
policy.
Yeah.
If you're not sure about policy, where do you look?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that's fine, but when they start.
So they asked me a question similar to that, and I says, well, what I would do is go to our policy manual or policy, they got word, PSC's got word docs too, so they're identical what we do. And I said, well, depending on what the issue is, I'll go to board docs and figure out what we need to do. You know, and so that's why I answered that question. If I've got a question, obviously you got a board attorney, you got district leadership that might be already addressing that, but yeah, I can always go look. All that stuff's available in public view as well online.
And so we'll put board blocks right there, so
Yeah.
that's for y'all's, thoughts on. And then review school improvement plans, and all of that is posted annually, and I just did something.
I don't think anybody's ever gonna hold y'all to say, so what do y'all do in case a student does this, that, and the other? How many days of suspension? They're not gonna ask you specific questions like that. So, well, I have to look it up. So we had that with the expulsion of the student recently. And first thing I did, I thought I knew what it was, but I go back sure what it is, because then that becomes a legal document when you send that to the parent, say, okay, so by Liberty County School Board policy, that puts y'all in liability if I get that wrong. Say, based on board policy BR 549, we're gonna take the kid out for 10 days, spend an expulsion here, blah, 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 blah. And I just quote policy, but it's okay, so we know we have policies, and I can look them up anytime. You're not gonna know them off the top of your head every time, if they're on what it is.
And probably that 5-year work plan, you're thinking, and then y'all have been highly involved in talking about that for some time now. And then strategic plan that House, you know, currently working on.
Next one is what's the process for you to request information, feedback, and board data on school or district performance?
We just said, open door policy for superintendent and administrators. Y'all know if there's ever a question that you have, you can ask us in an open forum, you can pick up phone calls, or you can come out and see us. That's generally how it works.
You can also see, DOE's got a website that has a lot of our testing data. You can see that as well. You can find it, but you may need to call us to find it. All right, we're not going to look. We'll definitely direct you on that. But we have that already, but sometimes on your own, you can look that up.
LCSB website.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great tool, you know, find anything you need. If you're sitting at your house, then you need to know quick.
We had to upload documentation for everything, so, a lot of the stuff in board docs, we link as our documentation for different standards.
Our website's pretty tight. I mean, it's got what it needs. Lynn does a good job posting things on there that needs to be posted in time and manner. So most times, if they'll look on the website, they'll find it. It's been out.
It's come a long way.
It's come a long way. It really has. Yeah.
And the next one's what's the process to provide information to your stakeholders?
We said, and it depends on if they're talking, we took it as they were talking about y'all. So, we said board meetings, social media, website, phone calls.
How do you provide information
Yeah,
to your constituents?
that's kind of how we took the question. But if they're talking about us, parent square, backpack, notes home, you know,
All the DOE reports.
you know, we'll add some, we'll say, if you're talking about y'all, if they want to talk about us, we'll put it back in place, so y'all have.
And then what are the type of metrics, what type of metrics are used to determine staff and institutional effectiveness? And how are those results then used to make decisions about staffing for the schools? So metrics that we came up with were,
Formal and informal walkthroughs, so that's for your teachers, you got your formal observations, your informal observations, walkthroughs. And an annual evaluation that comes out of all of that for the school as a whole, the school grade. And then we have various surveys that we do to gather information. How are we doing? Tell us how we're doing. You know, and we've done some of that through this process. We do it, you know, ongoing, but some particular ones during this process.
Part of our surveys are also about us, to the parents, to the staff, and we've got it broken down by school. We did that, what, 2 weeks ago? How do y'all think we're doing? You know, you got the difference between perception and reality. We may think we're doing good, but in reality, they're not saying we're doing good. So we want to try to bridge that gap, and whatever we think we're doing, and they see that we're doing that, and they report that. So we do those surveys, and those are very revealing, you know. But that's about our leadership as a district office, leadership at the school level, and to the parents for some of the same. We just completed those 2 weeks ago.
and then what we said were the way that they were used to make decisions based on staff placement and set goals, where you can go with it.
We did, I think we.
We talked about bonuses. When we had bonuses, you know, factored in your evaluation.
We'll make some.
Oh, and your goals for your kids. You set your attendance goal based on this year's attendance. And then the next one, how well is the school institution performing overall? So that's kind of your opinion, and what types of data are shared with you about its overall. So you have access to everything.
The breakdown of teacher evaluation, all that. Yes, that's. It's public record, and, you know, I'll take this.
You don't get a stack of teacher evaluations, but if you want to know my teacher evaluation, you can ask. And anybody can tell that.
And also too, I think another thing is you communicate with me. You know, you communicate with Kevin, you communicate with you communicate with our district leadership to say, how are we on funding? I mean, I guarantee y'all have talked to finance department, hey, are we doing financially? You have those to kind of gauge where we're at. You know,
And your audit performance.
audit performance lets you know where you're at financially, all the audits that the Auditor General's office does annually, and they do them annually. Kind of gives you an idea of where we're at as well.
All right, how does the school or institution's data evaluate its improvement the past 3 years? So that's your, on your band stuff. Describe the process used to evaluate the school or institution's growth and improvement the past 3 years, including types of data collected. So it's the same data. I think we listed out all these things. That's it.
Yeah, school improvement plans, school grade data, use DOE, guidelines to evaluate programs. So we're continuously monitored, you know, by DOE or other outside agencies on how we are doing. And then we said, it's, you know, other things that are looked at are like, what's our attendance rate as a district? What's our retention rate? How many third graders are progressing on to fourth grade or retained? And what's our discipline look like? We have to, you know, submit all that discipline data. And then how many accelerations are we getting, like students that are getting dual enrollment, students that are earning industry certification. So there's tons of metrics to judge.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Absolutely.
All of those are, yeah.
Absolutely. So you take this, let's just use that for example. Dropout rate is higher, it's gonna be higher, I just want to tell you. COVID has, a lot of the kids went online. It didn't do anything, and even with us calling saying, well, how many times you logged in this week? You didn't log in, any, you hadn't logged in last two, making those calls, we are getting a lot of 17-year-old ninth graders with 2 credits. So what they do, of 17, they don't want to get ahead of under 21. And we're working on a better way of trying to, before they come to adult ed, that trying to find a virtual option for them, something that they don't have to be on campus. Most people don't want to be 21, 22 on campus, you know, but is there another method that they can get their high school diploma without dropping out and getting a GED? That'd be an example of us taking that data and saying, we gotta make a change here, and I won't make a change.
Well, they ask the same question
No, they'll talk big picture, you know. And giving you another example, we took data at Christmas. And so coming in, you know, January, we got to look at it saying, scores are where we're at, this is where we started the year, here's where we're at, and we saw some deficits, and we made some staffing changes, you know, to try to strengthen that. You know, you only have, 5 more months of school now, but we felt like, that worst case scenario in a couple of situations, we need to make a change now in a structural position, so we go ahead and make that change. Data drives a lot. It's one thing to have data, so nothing not to ever use it. We don't want to just collect it and not do anything with it. We want to look at it because it gives you a really pretty good picture of what's going on instructionally in the classroom and really all of your programs. Sorry, guys, I'm so sorry.
Air conditioner works in the gym.
We should move the meeting.
We're moving to the gym tomorrow.
Looking outside of the see those.
So what are Tim's programs in which the governing body has a role in approving and/or funding that have been successful for at least 3 years?
I'm gonna ask y'all, you know what that is? There's one big one over there. High school. High school's one of them. Yeah. That's a big one.
I mean, you can go back because pretty consistently that total approved, well, total and then Oxford did that one, so it's been.
But if you look at the last 3 years, if that's what they're asking for, the high school should be there.
Yeah.
New market tax credit, that's one of them. Y'all could say, no, we're doing that. That's a risk. We're not gonna do that.
We haven't finished the half-cent sales tax.
Half-cent sales tax.
Involvement in
Right.
that with all. And
Y'all passed a
then,
resolution last summer to do that.
yeah, and then the new vocational program as for us at home. Now, there may be other things for this, but those were forward that.
But that's low hanging, fruit, you know.
Yeah, so, it could be softball. I mean, that kind of has come to, kind of been wrapped up. All that, but then.
Both field house.
Field
Yeah,
house.
awesome.
Yeah.
Real thing.
More focus on, education, instead of trying to run over there and.
Anything and everything that they can do.
It all contributes.
Y'all contribute everything. Y'all do the academic, you do the physical plant, you do the insurance, you do everything, you touch everything.
Really and truly, renovation and movement up here.
That was a big deal. So,
RTC bill.
oh yeah, all that.
Good idea.
It was great until today. So,
Describe how the use of data to make decisions are ingrained in the governing body's culture. That's pretty well.
I kind of answered all of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, in some of these, it's just, we just kind of copy and paste what we said before, so.
And a continuous commitment to group.
And then what are, the last one, this is gonna be a personal one, what are some words you would use to describe the school or institution, community members not affiliated with the institution? So if you had to describe a school district in a couple of sentences, what would you tell them? Don't bring your kids here, or bring your kids here, and why?
What makes Liberty County special?
family.
You know.
Family.
Why do you let your kids do? Yeah. I'll tell you my short answer. Here's what I tell people. If there was a better place to live, I'd live there. That's why I love living there. If there's a better place, I'd live there. Ain't a better place. That's why I love that. But again, those are sample questions from one month, when you do it, a month ago. February. It may not be those exact questions. If it is, you need to give Mandy $1.
I will tell y'all that, yes, that the person, they chose to interview individually, so the board member that I interviewed was a former teacher, so we wanted to talk about a lot of school stuff that was off script. I mean, she ran through the questions pretty quick, and it's hard to talk one for 45 minutes on this few number of questions. But, I mean, they're not trying to get us or anything, they really, and if they make suggestions, it'll be, have you guys thought about trying this? And it might be something we really should try.
They're not looking for a gotcha moment. Don't feel like you're on this, I'm on the witness stand and I got this attorney in front of me. No disrespect to the attorney, but somebody's trying to, win a case or something. It's not a courtroom type situation. This is just tell what you know. And again, you know what you know. You know what you do. And one thing I think sometimes they get a little off with is size and scope. It's mind blowing to them that James Flowers has Kevin Williams' number in his phone in here, because in another district, there's 50 Kevin Williams. And there's a Kevin Williams at every school. You know what I'm saying? That person at that school is somebody from the district who oversees that. Some districts, they have the main superintendent, and then they have district superintendents within, almost like a sub-district superintendent. It's kind of mind blowing that people, there's some superintendents that can't possibly go to every school in their district, in their county, if possible. So they have other superintendents who work under them. But when you tell them, oh yeah, I know the facility guy, and the bus guy, I live beside him, I go to church with him, I know, it's mind blowing to them. They don't get that sometimes. So don't feel overwhelmed. I think once they find out we talk a lot, we communicate a lot, we get along really well, it's refreshing. It really is. Questions? Another good thing, I would highly recommend you go to Miss Lynn's precious website we have up there. It is good. If you hadn't navigated it lately, she's added some things. One of the things was that we talked about last board meeting was about the curriculum, review and the parental comments and all that. But this kind of gives you, what's your enrollment. They may never ask you what your enrollment is, but you have an idea of that. What's your racial makeup? All this is on here. Just some, but mission and vision is usually one day, almost always. You know what your mission and vision. If you got it, read it to me. I got it right here, right? That's right, I got it right here. Or you can say, we go to the website. But I would say have it here. You got the stuff available to you. But I wouldn't sweat it. Mine went just flawlessly, and I met with me, KMU's superintendent, and Bobby Pierce from Wakulla. We did ours together, and it was flawless. It really was seamless.
As far as the meeting, I sent y'all all an email with a link to the calendar invite. Boo has responded yes. I can hit a response, and so it'll show up at the top of your email. Again, I haven't put the Zoom link in yet, but they send us that. So when I get it, I can add that. Y'all can send it again, so it's at the top of your messages.
I'll still go down.
Okay.
It'd be easier for you to send it there.
Yeah, I mean, it just will come up at the top. You got it.
If y'all need to Zoom here, you're more than welcome to. You can make my office or any of these offices. We can set you up, Ms. Lane can set you up in here. If you want to do it at home, obviously you do it at home, you do it on your cell phone, laptop, device, any other, iPad or something. So it's really up to you, but there, just know what you're gonna do before you get in. If you need to do it up here, just let me know, and I'll let Lynn know, and she'll have you to
I'm attaching these notes to this email.
You think they would be offended if I was sitting in a boat fishing?
They would be jealous.
I think it'd be great, as long as you got good cell signal.
Yeah.
Sit right under the bridge.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't.
So,
I wear it a lot, but
I'll return it to you on the whole
Well, gay and mandy at the end of the day, they're teachers. That's why they make all that.
You process it better, write it down.
They're right now.
Yeah.
Well, it's your notes, it's your handwriting.
Yeah. And y'all add to it, make it your own.
All right, any other questions for that? If you got some, call us, just call us, say, look, yeah, feel free to do it, okay, anything else on that? Anything else from y'all? Okay, so the second thing I know Brother Duty called about, yes, I'm sorry.
How long does that generally take? 30
It's a
minutes?
45-minute total, so y'all will all be,
We all spread, we all five.
yes,
spread
we're all
45
in that 45 minutes.
So we gonna- When Jody talks, then we gonna be able.
I'm a newbie. Any questions, that's how we get on? Any, y'all know how to get on?
Well, I know.
She had sent them, Zoom.
Yeah.
We're gonna be up here, I'm gonna be up here, so.
Okay.
No, you just in the
That's what
meeting,
I-
ID.
Yeah, that's what I did, in case I have issues.
You don't have to be- But the camera's gotta be on.
Yes. Everybody's in.
See, if I was at home, I'd have a haircut, I'd need my knees or something.
Well, I mean, we need this accreditation, that was. We're not hurt at all.
The chances of us not making it, not being real, that, you know,
For the first time, 15
would be the
years.
first time in 15 years that, what, any school you said, they all get it. Most of them all get it.
You may have, you'll have your accommodations and you'll have some.
Right,
recommendations. But
We are in a district, we will be accredited.
Yeah.
yes.
You gotta pretty much, and again, I say we've sent all this stuff ahead of time. So we put this stuff in files when they ask for things, they told us, we need to see this, and then all that's been sent. So they've got what they need.
And we don't have to make anything up. We have what we need. I mean, we have this.
The data they asked for. And a lot of it was the same that we had to do for the pocket. They'll be here Friday, so I'll meet in the hospital school at 8:00. And they're flying from Texas today. They'll go to Columbia, and then I'll meet in the hospital. We'll stay there about an hour. We'll go to Toller High School, if you remember, we got the backwards. I'll feed them lunch, and then they'll meet. You got, that's making the schedule. I've got a schedule.
Is that something board members come to, or just you?
You can absolutely come to, whatever, but,
What time is that, right?
start at 8:00. I mean, in the hospital, school at 8:00. Just give me, they just want to tour the buildings. So of course, we're gonna go start on the south side, Toller. They basically want to say, oh, yeah, I see, now that you told me y'all were poor, now I kind of see it, you know, y'all got some issues here. It's just more credibility for us asking perhaps.
I can email you.
I will tell you this, Sheila told me 175,000 was what we were getting for the half-cent sales tax. I talked to Daniel at church on Sunday, 220 now. Of course, a lot of that has to do with increased food prices and different goods and services.
I still would like to see like a bullet, some bullets, you know, that would put us all on the same page. I know we can't lobby for it.
Right. No,
So,
yeah.
You can ask your questions.
So we will do that. We'll do, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do.
Right.
And then here's who's helping us do.
I would like to see the benefits though.
Yes,
and What the benefits are, you know, 'cause that's what people ask. What,
What are you gonna do with it?
yeah, what are
Yeah,
you
what
gonna
are
do?
you gonna do?
Anything, you know?
Yeah, we gotta have talking.
But I want us all to be on the same page. We all need to
That's
be on
right.
the same
That's
page.
right.
When they go to a football game, they should see something that says you paid for how much
Yes.
of this and
Yeah.
your tax.
It really helps.
So one of those issues, it's actually quite simple. Computer, hardware, software is one of them. The other thing is land acquisition, construction, renovations, facilities type stuff.
Number one thing is if you don't have the half-cent sales tax, we wouldn't have a new high school.
Right.
And what you
And we
did,
used
the
it.
10 years of sales tax was, you got a new high school.
So, yeah,
Well, not
So
just
you had to
that,
pledge
not
that.
just what you're using it for, but people understanding is what is this? What is this? Because I believe there was an education issue.
100%.
That people thought it was a new county.
Or he's gonna use it for salaries. Some people says, oh, y'all just gonna give everybody a Perry County office, they don't get raises. Can't use it for salaries, not one penny, not one half. Can't use it for salaries. We wouldn't do that anyway. But bad narratives get out and say, oh, yeah, they're just bad for pockets. They don't do that. They don't do that.
It's just, it's something, another tax.
Just another tax.
They're really, it's already there.
10 years, 10 years, yeah.
What you could do is to present to them that what we used the sales tax before was able to get a new high school, because we had to pledge 1.5 mil. But this is what we'd like to do with the next 10. We've got a 5-year work plan, and we need computers, we need, like you said, bullets on what you need, because right now.
Pre-K, field house, everything, even though we've got some money over there, field house, everything.
I just think, again, the way it was looked at on that, just.
We're gonna fix that. Sure. All right, any other questions? All right, new market tax credit, budgeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, all, hard work.
So I know there's some questions, and I want to answer questions. Kevin's here to answer questions. I talked to him. So I talked to Kyle Rogers. So we've got $592,000 to put where we need to. Obviously, it's unrestricted. We can put it wherever we need to. I think we've made a commitment to try to finish that unfinished building. I don't think it's gonna take all of it. Okay, I believe it could take all of it. I've talked with y'all individually, so I'll say this with all of us in the room. When I built swimming pools, if somebody said, look, I've got $60,000 for a budget for my pool, and the pool only costs $50,000, and I try to sell them something for $10,000. You want a heater, you want a diving board, you want a sliding board, you want pool deck, you want pavers, you want extra deck. If they got $60,000, I want to try to make that money as a businessman. If you tell somebody I got $592,000 for this building, it can be spent. Absolutely can be spent. And that doesn't mean from a hanky panky, I'm trying to be legal or moral kind of thing. It's just, you can spend that much on it. You can spend $150,000 on a house, or you can spend $1 million on a house. It all depends on what you got. So just preliminary numbers, just looking at some numbers. Kyle Rogers called me today. We're looking, and these are just some easy, quick bids. We can decide how we want to do this, but about $35,000 on plumbing. Right around 80 on electrical. That would finish the electrical. That would get it pretty close. And then about 150 on high back. Now, we can look at any one of those. We will look at all those to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck. That doesn't finish the building. Kevin and I have talked about the floor. What do you do to the floor? I leave it like it is. Concrete floor. And you can, yeah, for now, you can stain it, you can seal it, you can do all kinds of stuff. Be easy to clean. Now you got lockers that need to go in there. You got fixtures, that need to go in there. But I think if we are real careful with our, getting good prices on stuff, the good thing is the lumber is already in it. The roof's already in it. Kevin and I and Kyle walked through that OSB on the outside. It may look bad, but it's in good shape. It's in really, really good shape. There may be a corner or two that it might have swollen a little bit. Kevin might have hit. Is that a good appraisal of what you think? It's in good shape. I didn't expect it to be as good until we got out there and really got to look at that. It's in pretty dang good shape. So you put some covering on that. You got that building is a lot of it's done. You just got to finish it. Stub outs are all in there. We got to hook up, do obviously the plumbing for the sewer and everything, and there was allowances made for that. So are there some things, other things on our priority list we're gonna need? Absolutely. We can't go jump right on a softball complex. I mean, I'm just telling you. And y'all know this will be true, unless that drainage gets fixed, there is no reason to go over there and start constructing something. And everybody knows that, we know it. So we're still pursuing more new market tax credit money. I talked to Eric's, but I'm working as hard as I can. It's his advantage to get it. He ain't just helping us, he makes money off of these deals. So, he's continuing to work that in there. I hope we get more. We may not get another dime. That's a fact. That is a fact. He's very optimistic we will, and then hopefully have some money. But there's some real needs right now that I would love to use some of this. I told y'all before, it ain't gonna be Cal Petty slush fund or the school administration slush fund, just put wherever we need it. I want y'all to be a big part of that because we got to finish that building. We've got to finish that building. It's just got to be finished. One big item, and I say big, it's not big compared to the grand scheme of things, we got to have another lawnmower. A lawnmower right now. We're sharing one between district office and the high school. And so we need to really give them the new one. They got more grass to cut. And, here we are coming into summer. I mean, grass cutting is happening right now.
Is that, we talking about the lawnmower? Is that something that you'd bid out or?
He got.
Or you,
State bid contract,
We got state bid contract?
we won't bid it out.
you just go get it? So,
State bid contract.
so like what, the reason I say that is I'm over the lawnmower.
Yeah.
And every time I turn, we got either a transmission or engine or something blowing on the leak. Pay $1,000 for a lifetime warranty for the engine transmission and all, $150 deductible. You're looking at about $9,000 for 72-inch commercial farm. That thing lasts a long time. Unless you got a preference. of-
These are some great, what a great lease.
I got state bid contract, I got a Gravely price and a John Deere price. They won't last for either one of them, I don't think.
What's Spark?
Yeah. Gravely's got,
Mine's a Gravely, and I'm.
Gravely's got-
Hardcore. It's
Gravely's got the best warranty of all of them. The largest motor, best warranty, decks are exact same. Almost everything else is the same. Motors are the same, just Gravely's is 35 horse and the John Deere's 25. Gravely's got a 5-year, 1,500-hour warranty. And John Deere's got 3 years, 1,000, 1,100-hour warranty.
So Spark's got a 7-year, 1,500. Comes with it from the factory when you buy it. And it's made by Gravely too, so.
What's that warranty cover, transmission and what,
Transmission and engines.
for $1,000 for
$1,000,
lifetime?
lifetime, $150 up. And if it breaks, blows up, transmission goes out. I'm just saying there's options in there for whatever, things.
Yeah, it's made by Gravely.
That's what they call paperwork.
So we know we need that. We know we need some other stuff. But we go ahead and purchase that right off the top, right to start with. That's something we can go.
So obviously we're not taking, the board's not taking action. I want y'all's blessing to go ahead and to do that, then we can run it through.
And then,
Next board meeting.
then we have a pretty good idea how much money once we get.
Okay, so Kyle Rogers should be here next Tuesday, and we'll have, for a little presentation.
And I want to go back about this, let's make
prices.
sure we
Some of those things are
stay-
obsolete. I say some of those things are hot fires. We use different. Some of those things are real needs right now.
Right,
There's
and
no
and
doubt.
I think if we
Daily
just keep.
Business.
Yes,
keep
yeah.
Going back to that, we created that.
Correct.
And it's gonna be ever changing, we understand
I-
that.
And again, not trying to exhaust,
Transparency is.
I don't want to use this as a slush fund exhaust just for all of that stuff. And then say, dang, we need $20,000 more to finish the field house. Don't want to get in that kind of situation. not gonna get in that kind of situation, but there are some things right now. I know one, Kevin, down at the cooler, is it a Kohler? That needs a cover. I mean,
We already said we had that.
gotta have it.
We already said we had to have.
Gotta have it, you know, and so
You gotta have
that's one of those
something.
things that, we're not trying to say, I mean, there's just some things you just gotta have.
Got to have,
Yeah, you got to have some vehicles. I mean, they ain't no. Just gotta have something, or either start paying people mileage for using their personal. One of the two.
We're using some extra money for a handicap van, Kevin, got some prices on that. I need to get you, we'll talk about that. That's some of the money that we got extra.
And we got the $15 to it,
Ma'am,
the $15 minimum wage.
that's the other thing we're struggling with. We're trying to absorb positions everywhere as people leave, including up here. Because we got to cough up over 200 grand off too.
And that's not including, it's gonna be.
It's gonna be more than that, but I'm saying,
Yeah, because we're gonna have to look at the whole.
that's why I said over 200, over 200. Yeah. So we just gotta be tight.
Yeah.
Here's a good thing. Revenues for the state are way exceeding projections. I hope the legislature will say, we got to up student allocation to make up for this minimum wage stuff, or they're gonna have to. We can't absorb that. I mean, we don't have 200,000 just to say, oh, I got it back. We don't have it in the bank. So we're gonna need them to adjust. It's kind of like, you know, how is a restaurant or a local business, how do they adjust for that? They raise prices. You know, goods and services, they're doing it now. So they have to do it. So if somebody's got it, well, how do we do it? Well, we can't raise prices. We're not selling anything. So we're so heavily dependent on state dollars, they're gonna have to up that. Or we're never gonna be that. But it's not just us. They got to do that across the state. Everything's relative, so it's gonna be much higher for an Orange County or Duval County. But it's devastating to us, except Wall County. Wall County's got money.
What if they don't?
Hey, Wall County's found out they 35% from
yeah, what if they don't do that?
They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to.
Now, this new market tax credit plan,
Because here's the problem, because if they don't, then we're not gonna be able to pay for goods and services and people and staff to run the school. We're gonna have to say, okay, so we got teachers in there, but we're gonna have, we're gonna have to reduce teachers, which means, our staff, which means now the class don't have, we don't need the class size, 18 in the class, it's gonna be 24, because, we don't have enough, y'all not giving us stuff in our classroom. I mean, that's how dependent on the state dollars are to run our schools. We gotta have it. So I do believe they'll do that. But times are good right now. There's a bubble that burst somewhere. We've seen it, we've all lived through that now, a time or two. What happens when the housing bubble bursts, what happens when there's another COVID or something like that, and then that money's not there. But thank the good Lord, we got a governor who's allowing us to stay open and keep the businesses open in the state, because that's where we get money from, is business.
now this new market tax credit money, I heard you say something about 15. That money is not for spending on any kind of wages or pay raises.
Anything more?
You think it's
It's unrestricted.
You just gotta remember, the pay raise is recurring.
But if it occurred, this is one time deal.
Yeah.
That's true too.
My thing on this money is, we got, what, we 592?
592.
And we budget that money to go to certain things. As far as I know, we had to sit down and budget that money to go.
So
correct?
that's correct. So I'm working on that. What I want Kyle Rogers to come in here and do, working with, because we've already contracted with Culpeper. I want them to come here and give me a final guarantee price like they did the high school.
Right.
So they'll come in here and say, and totally making this up, not basing this on anything, let's just for numbers sake. We can do that for $350,000.
Right.
Okay, that final guarantee price, because that's what you work on with them. We had a final guarantee price, so they have to work within that. So if it's 350, then we say, okay, so we got another, couple $140,000 of going in. So now we can take that and we can budget that and say, okay, now we're gonna put this to vehicles or whatever, softball field, whatever you wanna do it with.
And let me ask you this. Originally, we supposed to fix that vocational building, or finish that. How much,
Okay, so
how much are we talking there?
floor about, Kevin got me 79 was the floor in it, JRT, it was in the 70s. Now, we're not obligated to do that, I want to do that. It needs to match, so this is the same floor in the high school, right, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
So the hallway in the JRTC building was done, but not in the classrooms. So it's about 70,000 to do that. That's part of I want to make part of the budget is to do those classrooms.
Well,
But,
I thought that was our,
yeah, okay, I can answer that, So, this is why we don't have to do it. Because we accrued $800,000 in costs to move the JRTC building, but they're only giving us $592,000. So because we had to eat the other part, they are not requiring us to put it anywhere, it's totally unrestricted.
the new market tax rate, people.
Correct.
So we don't have to do nothing to that.
Correct, that is correct. Not by the virtue of the policy of the program.
Alright.
Because of incurred cost. That's what they said,
You know,
because you've already paid that.
We, and I'm all for finishing the field house, it's been out for 11 years, 12 years, I don't know how long. I'm all for finishing that, but then at the other end of that field, we've got a concession stand we use right now, it's got a temporary roof, that we need to put a roof on,
Yes,
or it's gonna be an eyesore in a year or two.
it is now.
It is now.
Right.
And we need to get that done.
Right, that's why we need to make a budget, but if it's okay with y'all, I wanna start with the field house, that's gonna take the biggest portion of it. And then once we see that, we'll see what's left over. Then we keep lobbying for all the extra stuff.
You wanna start with getting a fixed price.
Correct. Correct.
That,
And that's what Cold
You don't wanna finish the field house and then say, all right, we got $100,000.
Correct, I want a budget.
You wanna start.
Just like you do your
budget with the
and
field
remember,
house.
we got 18 months, guys, we got 18 months to finish this, so it's not like,
That'll be here before you-
right.
That's right, that's right.
It's gone.
So Lord's willing, next week we start honing in on budgets on what it's gonna take.
So could we have this by Tuesday?
I'm pushing, I talked to Kyle today,
And we think we're gonna get one more.
one.
What about a real mower?
What about a tractor?
Something we need?
Me and Ken talking, we need a tractor, but
That's what I'm saying, and
We just.
bigger fields as we've got,
Oh, you talking about the mower?
yeah.
had one, blew the motor. But there's definitely need, especially Toller, all that.
Ag bought one,
Who?
the ag department.
He got one out of his certification. Ag stuff.
But we can't use that
No.
anywhere else.
And we need a couple of vehicles. These,
So again, our list is very pertinent to what we need and very relevant. If y'all will allow me, and that's why I want to talk, if y'all allow me to make the budget for the field house and get that budget done, and then we can talk about everything else.
I wanna
Then
get
we
that
know
list in
what,
front
then
of
we
us
know
again.
what we
I agree, we gotta get that.
Gotta get budget.
We've got to start.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, if you don't get a budget,
But I
say,
don't want
this
us to
is-
be jumping around from here to here.
I'm afraid if we don't get a budget, to really lock into that they'll take off it. And then, again, I'm not saying this one's hard, it'll take about 90,000 to finish it. Because you'll say, well, I got it, trying to run it. Let's get a budget, let's figure out what we need.
And prioritization.
Yeah. I would love the ag class, the construction class to do the lockers. Before Greg left, Greg said, I've been in places where they got the wood foot lockers and then the ones with the metal ones gonna get rust, got sweat, got water. He said, the wood ones are the best, they're a lot more easier to sanitize and all that. That's a great project for you class, but they're not gonna have that done by football season. We're trying to do it. And so there may be a little bit of a phase in. That'd be the other thing to say, well, look, we can pull the ones from the old field house over there to get through this season. And then start come August, that Sam Bass's class starts building things.
That's gonna be another big expense is furniture.
Yeah. That is wood. That is wood.
Furniture, man.
Yeah. So if everybody's okay with phasing things, my big goal is have concession stands open, bathrooms on the side.
Get in it.
Get in
That's
it
what-
and
just
use
get
it.
in it. I mean, that's
They'll
usually
use
right.
it may not be finished by August, get
I
it.
wanna see it finished.
Correct.
I wanna see him run out of it. Come
I wanna
on.
see them run out of it.
Yeah, let's go.
But I wanna see that it operates.
That's right, I love to see it, like in Florida State, they roll that door up, the band comes out, I want to see that. It'd be a big side issue, especially the season.
Well, that project will not get more expensive as they go by.
Oh, it's going.
To start with, it was gonna be a $240,000 job,
Right.
and $285,000.
Yep.
And it's still dried in with no door. They've been
About
9 years.
9 years, yeah.
9 years, it's been dried in with no door.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Wasn't even a school board project.
no, what,
That's right. But we're gonna finish,
We gotta get it finished, though.
we still have money that came in, we have access to that money that was paid for pavers, signs, doors, posts, and we've got records of all of that.
That's gonna have to be used for that.
Correct.
And only for that.
Yes.
Those people donated it for that.
You ain't got enough money there to do what you got obligations, I can tell you.
It ain't gone
$12,000 in there, something like that.
Because the price is probably doubled or tripled, so they paid $25 for a paver, you won't get that anymore.
Yeah. So
what you gonna do about that?
Definitely won't be.
I think the smallest pay was $100.
As long as you're transparent, I think
You can't get
that's
the
I honestly, the people who've paid, I've talked to a bunch of them, y'all may have talked to some of them, and they're just like, we just want to see Field House get up.
Yeah.
And they'll work with, we're gonna honor what they pay for, we're gonna try to get them that. And Kevin's exactly right, that was 9 years ago, and we gotta make some adjustments there, maybe something different, rather than a paper, it might be a sign. I don't know, we just gotta figure that out, you know. So there's gonna have to be some sidewalks coming off the track, you know, for handicap type stuff, and sidewalks, there's gonna be some concrete work and stuff like that, so, that's my request of y'all. Yeah, I would love, to go ahead and get the mower, we need to go ahead and get that, because the grass is growing. And then we work on the budget, that's just an immediate hot spot.
Start somewhere on.
Yeah.
See what we're working with.
Yeah.
One mower, I feel rest of Oxford, over and.
Well, no, it's just,
I mean.
they got one over there, and then, and the sheriff, we've only got two right now.
One's all we,
Need-
so they're sharing one between here.
Correct.
And Toller. Toller has one.
Teller's got their own right, kid.
But they're all the same age, it's just a matter of seconds before the other one do the same thing.
I'm just gonna blow your socks off. This Mulder. What is the feasibility of having our own mowers, which we pay for, we have to keep up, blah, 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 versus outsourcing them?
We already tried that, it's more expensive, and
It's
you
more
make,
expensive.
and everybody loses their job.
No, I'm not saying
So
privatization.
it is privatization.
I'm talking about mowing the lawn,
Yard work.
yard work,
It's still privatizing that part.
that part of it,
Yeah.
right?
We're paying groundskeepers.
So we pay groundskeepers, I'm just asking a
Yeah,
question.
that's,
So
it's
that's
okay.
$8,000
So, okay, that.
plus the maintenance of the lawn.
Kevin, the mowers we have now, you said they're all the same age?
Yes, sir.
What age is that?
I can't tell you that off the top of my head, it's
5 years?
a minimum.
5 years or older?
They're at least 5 years old now.
$8,000 for 5 years.
Kevin, I don't know if you looked
And
into
it's
it
too bad with the grass we have.
years ago, when I worked with a different department. We leased mowers,
Yeah, that's enough.
for so many years, then at the end of that, we buy them, deliver it up, or turn them back in and give us a new.
For $1 buyout.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if there's a state, and I'm sure the state did, because it was another state entity that did it. Have we looked into any of that maybe?
I mean, you can't do nothing unless it's on state bid contract like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking that this was because it was done through a state agency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there might be on an alternate contract source a way to lease that,
So then,
lease some, just, it might
It's
be
all
something
lease,
worth looking.
Worth looking.
It's leased to buy, it's leased to buy or something like
Listen,
that.
I don't know if it's still.
They out to make money. I guarantee you it's gonna cost you the same or more by the end of the day.
but we can check them, see.
Absolutely check.
Okay, it's right there, it's not like a-
Yeah, I don't think, I didn't even know if they still did it or not.
I hadn't asked him yet. All I done.
And they may not, but.
All I done is check the
Kevin
state
can call,
bid
he can call.
contract.
Yeah, ain't no problem. Sure.
If you don't do state bid contract, you're going to advertise and all that, and you're talking another month or so before you even buy a lawnmower. You ain't got that time.
Did the county just buy,
Gravely.
big
They
contract?
brought the grade.
Is that the county we're trying to buy?
Yes, sir.
And if I ain't mistaken, $23,000 for two?
I said,
Yeah,
we
about
paid 12,
12.
yeah.
Yeah,
Probably send
that's
somebody
fine.
to pick them up, bring them up, you.
Do what?
Say what now?
Probably send somebody to get them.
Cause they
You
ain't
never
using
know what he go to.
Hey, you reckon you got that?
I'm gonna be, dude.
Well, it's like, it's like, I'm trying, we trying to come out.
Yeah, well, hey, problem solved.
You two at one time.
Yeah. Any other questions or directions y'all wanna give me on that? Does that seem like the direction y'all okay with?
As long as we're getting started.
Yes.
Christmas.
I wanna get started and I wanna stretch that money as far as we can actually get the projects that we've been putting off for years and years done.
But I need to know them projects so I can get prices.
Yeah.
And I want my.
That's the problem.
Like I said, huge advocates in that field house for this community. I wish we could have had it brand new in the brand new high school. We got
Yeah, I know.
where it would match. But if we can get it done 2 years later, you know, that's better than what.
I would encourage y'all to walk through it. You know, obviously don't have time to walk through it during the day, but it's impressive. I mean, it really is impressive building.
But
It just needs, you know, this,
most importantly, I want us to have what we need to run a business.
correct.
Day by day.
I still got the old copy of stuff we privatized. I like for you, come back and look at this.
Yeah,
Still got the same list
sure.
and, you know, scratch off stuff we have. We look at it. See
And the
what our
prices.
major needs are.
Well, and that's what I was saying. Once we get the budget for the field house, then you know how much you got left to play with.
He's saying get a number, get a hard number.
Yeah.
I think, dude, they can give us a number, and again, I'll go back to that example. Okay, it's gonna cost $300, well, I don't know what I said, $300,000 to finish it. So now, if that's a guaranteed final price, which is what your GC, your general contractor's gonna work on, you know, then you, now we start budgeting, we can budget the rest of it. What I don't wanna do is, okay, we can do this, buy this, before we get that budget go, we're 100 short. And then you know, you went and got this, that, and the other, but you didn't finish fill out.
But I don't wanna see that guy, you know, like everybody else, like field house. I don't wanna see that field house get built, and all of a sudden the grass is full good out where else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna take a lot of.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring that to you about the track, the lawnmower tonight, this afternoon. That's an immediate need, just simply because of getting it and the timing. You know, school's out 4 weeks, and then it's, you cut every week. And your groundskeeper can cut pretty much around the clock.
I say you get one, and you budget for another one, and then quarter.
Yeah, you don't.
Two quarters down, because you got three now that are all the same age.
Right.
Like you said, you got one coming out and then you got another.
See here, it just kind of go back to half-cent sales tax. You have a half-cent sales tax and you get $225 a year. There's an extra little chunk that you could have put on the field house if you had it. And then that would free up some of this other, for whatever you wanted to use it for, but we don't have it, but, you know, there's always gonna be building projects, there's always gonna be projects, so that will relieve big time, but you also, you know, Lynn can tell you, kids got all brand new computers this year, but 6 years maybe,
Less
70,
than that.
5 years.
About a year, because it's outdated to start with.
I'm just saying there, that's gonna be a need. It's gonna be a need.
And if we can ever get to the point where we're not buying all the machines at one time, if we get on that refresh cycle so that, we're not having to
Phase them in.
spend $700,000 every time we do it. If we do 300 this year,
Right.
get us on a cycle like that, then we're gonna be better off in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal.
And we also talked about that buses and vehicles and lawnmowers. If you don't put $100,000 up for maintenance and transportation a year to buy something, we'll be right back where we're at and you'll have nothing.
Yeah. I agree with you on
That
that.
happened to DOC. The money, the legislature just did not fund vehicles, they didn't do it. And in every agency I was in, we had a problem.
I mean, $100,000 is nothing.
It's nothing.
You can't hardly buy a pickup for $100.
I mean, it's just nothing. A bus is $121,000.
We're going, it's okay, we're gonna ask for a bus every year from legislation, every year. I'm being told that's a good ask, that is something, and maybe the committees flew through that.
With our fleet too, for
You really need one. You really, if you had your druthers one every year.
Yes, well, if we get this one that Mr. Petty's asked for, we get it, the oldest ones we have are 12s. But some of them 12s are getting up to 150, close to 200,000 miles. So, that 12 really wore out.
We definitely need a bus to get rid of for about the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, unless we do something like them 12s, buy 4 at a time, or just every other year buy a bus. Put 100,000 in there, spend 50 on a vehicle and put 50 back for a bus, and next year buy a bus. We got to budget something for maintenance and transportation.
I agree 100%.
I mean, we're getting ourselves in a bind by not doing that. And I know money's short. I do understand that. But you got to be able to get kids to school. You're not going to have school.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to send their kid off on a bus that's got 200,000 miles on it.
They may break down,
Yeah, so, that Coach Lewis, did he go? This Lewis left. Coach Lewis fits to go to Jacksonville. He might already win, or he's going tomorrow. Tomorrow. So I'm gonna pull the new route bus off because I don't want to go to Jacksonville and get him.
Yeah.
You don't want him to break.
Right.
down either.
Well, I know you don't want, and but he go right back. He's got, well, he might have 20 something, but to start with, he wasn't gonna have but a few kids. If we had one of them 12 passenger vans, you can haul up to 9 kids legally. That was a major plus, especially for ROTC, Tyler Stademeyer,
Wrestling.
I'm not Mandy, but
Yeah.
Candace. All those groups like that, they don't have to hire a bus driver. That's $70 to $100 a trip they have to pay.
Yeah.
That we could save.
A good CDL driver.
Yeah.
So are we okay with everything? Okay. If you got some individual questions, come let me know between now and then. I will, and I told y'all this, I'm gonna tell you up front, I'm gonna spend a dime of it unless you know. Okay? I don't mean that,
Unless we say it's okay.
I will bring everything before y'all with that, because I know we all share the same concern. We gotta finish that thing. But we also need to survive with everything else too. Trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat here, I think we can.
This has nothing to do with it, but does Eric do we have a timeline if we do get more architects money?
So, yeah.
If it doesn't happen within the next 6 months, it's not gonna happen, or?
The next phase of should come out. They're shopping it now. The good thing is it'll go quicker because we already got paperwork done. You gotta have a nonprofit. We can use everything we had, so the closings go much quicker. You just change up a few names and stuff based on the funding source. This first one was Capital One, so Jackson go in there and he'll redo all his legal work, but let's say it's Capital Credit, it would be Amerisbank. Amerisbank is one of those funding sources. Amerisbank do that, keep everything in place, nothing changes.
So we should know something sooner rather than.
If you know it, you can close quick. everything's done, all, I'm saying, all the legal.
I'm not
That's what
asking,
just much time.
my question is, at what point do we say?
We didn't make it.
We're not doing it?
Yeah. I'm not sure, I think the end of the year,
When the funding cycle
yeah,
kind of comes to an end, that's whenever.
my understanding, but I'll confirm that, I think it's the.
I was just wondering if that had been mentioned.
Yeah.
We may get more, we may not.
Right,
I'd like to know.
I'll find out when your dead drop dead date is.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll say, well, we didn't get any more done. Or we, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm very grateful to you.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a blessing.
Absolutely.
Any more discussion? Motion adjourned,
Motion.
second.